everybody. Thank you for joining our podcast, Moms on the Move. I'm Jen Wills.
And I'm Jennifer Stess.
We have two amazing women from the Meyer Center with us today. We have Shannon Spurrier and Monica Herber. I got that. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, we've been in contact for a long time now.
We have been trying to get this since, October of last year?
Like maybe literally earlier, for like so long we've been trying to. But you have all these events and stuff. So anyway, it just kept like not working out. Yes. But I'm so glad you're with us now. So thank you for coming too. Yes. Tell us just like a basic overview of what the Meyer Center is in Greenville.
Sure. Yeah. So the Meyer Center was founded in 1954 by an orthopedic surgeon, Dr. Leslie Meyer. And back in 1954, it was not mainstream for people with special needs to go to school. So he would operate on them. He would help them orthopedically. If it was to learn to walk, they could walk. If it was to fit them with braces, he would fit them with braces. And then he saw them not being able to go to school. And he thought, this is just not right. They were kept home or they were institutionalized, which was, really hard. And so he was such a visionary and pioneer in his time that he stepped out of his comfort zone and he said, we're not going to have this. And so in 1954, he started the Cerebral Palsy Institute for Greenville, and it has evolved over the years as the ADA came into effect in the 80s, and students were required to be able to learn with their peers. It shifted to more of an early intervention. So we serve students from 0 to 7, and we serve them with a specialized education, special education, and intensive therapies. And those therapies are physical, occupational, and speech therapy. And so all of our kids receive all of those services under one roof. And that's one of the great things is that parents don't have to take their kids to school and then pick them up and then drive them everywhere for their therapies.
Therapy,
so that's, obviously an added benefit, but also it's just the team. The way that the therapists interact with the teachers, they can accomplish so much more because you can imagine if 3 different therapists are working with a student and then they have a teacher, the communication's just not there. But what we do is we provide more of a team environment so that students are able to, if they learn to eat or hold a spoon in class that day, parents know immediately. And so when the student goes home, they're reinforcing that at home. So, but basically our students from 0 to 3 are a DHEC, DSS daycare. And then from 4, when they turn 3, they become a state charter school. So we're a member of the state charter district. And so they become a student at that point. And we serve them until they are 7. And then they go on and spread their wings and fly.
I know, because I kept reading as early as possible to get the kids in, just so they can thrive individually.
Yes. So we love to get them as early as possible. I mean, we've gotten 6-month-olds before, and we get to watch them sit up for the first time. We get to watch them crawl for the first time. We get to watch them speech looks a little bit different for all of our students. A lot of them are nonverbal. And so they will use augmented devices so they can be as rudimentary as a piece of paper with symbols on it that they can point to, or it can be an iPad type device that you'll hear a little bit about later when Monica talks, but it will actually speak for them and express their hope, their wishes and their wants and their needs. And we found a lot of their personalities as well, which is really cool.
Yes.
But so our job is to sort of meet the student where they are. And, our mission is to help them, reach their maximum potential. And each one of our 97 students has a different maximum potential.
Right.
Absolutely.
So, Monica, tell us about I know you're vice president of
the PTA at the Meyer Center.
And then you also have a son there.
And I'm a parent of Caden Herber.
Okay.
He was diagnosed early on. He had a brain injury at birth due to lack of oxygen. Caden's also adopted. So we adopted him when he was 3 months. So
and you were aware of?
That is the question I always get. And yes, and we were aware that an event happened at birth. And we did get the medical records. So we knew that there was a possibility that it could be pretty severe, the disability that would result from that brain injury. But, you know, you say yes to things because you're going on faith, and you just, we went on faith, and we just believed that God really had chosen him for us. And it was kind of hard to go back on that. And we saw his picture too, so that he's so kind of a beautiful boy.
That was mine.
So it's pretty hard to say no to that, but there were people that did say no, actually. So for whatever reason, we said yes. And I'm not saying that I never had my doubts. Once I had said yes, the first year was really hard to adjust to.
Is he your first child?
He's my only child.
Okay.
My first and only.
I mean, it's hard enough anyway.
Yeah. So we had struggled with infertility 7 years before that. And so you were talking about that you had a show about infertility. I was like, I can speak on that show too. And so anyhow, we adopted, and as he was growing, and we were hoping that, because you have like 3 years of early intervention, there's a reason why they do that in the first 3 years, try to do as much therapy as possible, because that's when a child has the most neuroplasticity.
Okay.
So we were just hoping and hoping and hoping that things would change and get better. Well, what we have is a child that cannot speak, cannot walk on his own. He really has no fine motor skills. He can't hold a spoon. He really needs assistance with every activity of daily living that you can think of. Wow. So he needs full assistance. So for me, the Meyer Center has been more of, I always say that the biggest gift that they give to our children is the gift of love. We moved here from New York City.
Okay.
And one of the reasons why the main reason we moved to Greenville is because the Meyer Center was here, and we toured it. And we saw that it was a very special place. We'd visited a bunch of schools before Caden started attending any school and in New York. And we just felt like, even though there were a lot of expertise, there wasn't this thing, this untouchable, kind of, you can't really define it. And I think now I define it as really love. And you can't teach that.
Right.
And you can teach all kinds of other things, and you can teach skills, but you cannot teach people to love. And that's what we found. And we don't know how far Caden's going to go. Honestly, part of my journey has been learning to just accept
the unknown.
Accept the unknown, yes. And that there's joy in the unknown.
It's hard to do.
So that's why I became a life coach and a marriage coach to help parents.
Such wise women again around me. Really.
How old is your son?
Yeah. He's 6 years old now.
6 years old. Okay.
But it's to help people through any kind of crisis, to kind of get out of crisis mode and get into living mode.
Because you have
it's called the joyful unknown. Yeah.
I love that.
So you started that because of him.
Definitely because of him, and because it took us so much. The first few years, we were just striving for him to reach milestones. Honestly, to fix him. We were trying to fix him. And, there was really, you have to get to a point where you just accept this is your child. And whatever happens, whatever goals are reached afterwards, great, that's wonderful. But having acceptance at every stage in the journey and finding joy in that moment that's there. I mean, it's
not
always
having that
there.
Comparison factor.
No, and that's really tough in our society.
Oh, yeah.
You look on Facebook and everybody's sharing milestones, and it's the hardest thing for a new parent to then see that their kid is just failing, or that's how you're perceiving it. And so you just have to start from a blank slate and understands that your child doesn't have to look like everyone else. And that's what's so wonderful about the Meyer Center. They really do meet each child exactly where they are.
And they don't compare to the next child.
No, absolutely not. But my child might not graduate walking and talking and even being able to hold a spoon, but I feel what has been wonderful is that he's able to be part of people and be part of society. And my son couldn't go inside. He still has trouble just being in public. The sounds, trying to just process the sounds and the faces. And this is a lot for him.
It's so crazy. You said it was a lack of oxygen.
Yes, at birth. Yeah.
I mean, to me, that's like, you hear of stuff like that with the umbilical cord, but you never imagine the repercussions could be this significant. And was it the umbilical cord?
I don't know exactly. So his birth mom, we don't know the exact details of what exactly transpired, but he started having seizures and they had a difficult time stopping it.
Wow. That's a lot.
What a gift you are, and what a gift Hayden is, and what a gift the school is.
Yes, it definitely is. And they're not the only story of families who move to the Greenville community for the Meyer Center.
Yeah.
That we have a lot of people who will relocate their families just because it's what's best for their child. But will you share about his new communication device and about how he's able to talk, how he's able to interact in class?
Yes. So he uses the Tobii Dynavox. So it's actually it's more special than an iPad where you're touching and then it speaks for you, because he's not able to do that. He doesn't have the fine motor skill to touch things. He can bash it, but he can't touch it. And so I can't explain the science about, or the technology exactly, but it's able to read his eye motion. And so his eyes can point to a word and it will speak.
Wow.
That's neat.
Yes.
I didn't even know that was available.
I didn't even know that existed.
Yeah. And so now when his class is having circle time, instead of him being excluded and having to just, I always think about how much our children have to say, but they can't often say it. And so now he's able to say the color of the day, say the weather outside, say, what he wants for snack, which I believe is his favorite thing to say.
Guacamole.
So you get a sense of what's going on and what he can process and what
and
he can
imagine how
understand.
He felt before? Because he just was sitting there, not... he had all these things in his head, and now he can say them. And so he's gone from, I think, crying a lot in class to being happy and being able to say what he needs to say.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
It reminds me of those videos. Have you ever seen those? When the kids who are
here
deaf,
for the first time.
Yes. It's like that overwhelm they have of like joy. I'm sure him knowing he like communicated.
Oh, I think he's just so elated that he can even just have an exchange with people. Yeah. I think that's what's so special.
Right.
That's what matters to me the most, is that other people besides my husband and I can see just the beauty of this boy.
Right.
He's amazing.
Aww.
He's amazing.
So what is something memorable he's like said to you?
So
guacamole.
I love it when he says guacamole. But he surprises me sometimes. I'm like, Caden, where do you live? Because there's a page there. I mean, obviously, I love you is the number one thing every parent wants to hear. Yeah. But okay, he loves me. We know it. We know he loves us without even saying it. But like yesterday, I had the page up and I said, Caden, where do you live? And he's just like, he kind of babbles with the device too. So he'll look at other things and I'll say, no, that's how old you are. But where do you live? And he's like, I live in Greenville. It pops up and it sounds like a robot. It does. Yeah. So it's like, I live in Greenville.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I cannot even believe there's that technology. Like, that is wild.
It's
is there
pretty
other
wild.
Kids that use that too?
Yeah, we have a lot of kids who use it. And I've been at the Meyer Center going on 9 years. Wow. And that technology has been introduced and evolved so much. When they first started using it, they didn't have the retina scan. Mm-hmm. So students that didn't have the fine motor skills to touch weren't able to do it. Yeah. And then all of a sudden that technology is introduced. And so our therapists are amazing. Like, you can't say enough about the teachers, the teaching assistants, and our therapists. I mean, the whole school just has a feeling, as Monica said, of love. Mm-hmm. But the therapists and teachers really go above. They get the devices approved. They set them up for where the students need, because there's more simplistic ways and then there's more advanced ways that they can use it. And I mean, that's immeasurable.
Right. No, it is immeasurable. Because it's one thing, you do that in the 30 minutes with the speech therapist. And then it's another thing where everybody starts using it. And that's when the magic starts to happen.
Right.
That's so awesome.
So you said it's structured. How's the Meyer Center structured? You said there's 3 different kind of...
Do you want to talk to that, or do you want me to?
No, you talk to that.
Sure. So it's hard to explain quickly because it's very complex. Yes. Our classes and our school are very complex. But basically, we have a multi-categorical 1, 2, and 3. Mm-hmm. And so they are put into those classrooms based off of their intelligence, like what they can do intelligently, but they're also put in there by what they can do physically. Right. So they try to pair them so that they can, it's peers. You're learning off of each other. Right. And so that's how they're done. And I don't have anything to do with that. I just hear it every day. Mm-hmm. But our director of education and our executive director spend hours upon hours trying to put them in the right classes so that they can, have the right teacher and the right teaching assistants in those classes. We also have 3 nurses. Yes. Who administer all of the medical attention, but they will also push into the classrooms. Our ratio typically is 3 to 1. Okay. But in a lot of our classes, especially the lower functioning, they'll need more assistance in there. So it can oftentimes be 1 to 1 in those classes because so much assistance is needed. Mm-hmm. But our nurses are amazing. Daily they are getting called to 5, 6, 7, 8 different classes almost simultaneously. But they have been amazing, especially through COVID, because not only have they had to take care of the kids, but they've had to test all of us weekly. Yeah. And so we have 65 staff and we get tested weekly. And so they're taking care of that as well. And it's not just doing the test, they have to report. And
so it's 65 staff and 97 students.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
So we have admin, we have 3 people in development so basically our budget is about $3.5 million a year to run the center. So if you average that out, say we have 100 students, it's about $35,000 per student per year. And so a lot of our funding comes in thirds. So a third of it will come from the education side. A third of it will come from Medicaid and therapy reimbursements. And then my department has to raise a third. So we raise anywhere, usually around 1.5 to 1.7 million a year.
Okay. So that's why you're the volunteers and all your events, they're so important to you. So what are certain events that you do throughout the year? So
we do 2 really big fundraisers. The Kids Classic Golf Tournament, which is the first Tuesday in May every year. Okay. This will be the 34th year for that event. So awesome. We're so excited this year because we're adding a 5th golf course. It's played on 4 golf courses on that Tuesday, the first Tuesday in May. And this year, because our golf courses fill up every year, we thought, well, let's be crazy and add another golf course. Yeah. And so
all the golf courses.
Yeah. So we're hoping to have 440 golfers this year. And that event has a VIP party with it the night before. Mm-hmm. And so the golfers and the guests come for cocktails and appetizers. And then we have a mission moment, which we have a parent share a story. But this year we have a special guest. We actually have 2 special guests. Ernie Els, professional golfer, and Jay Haas are going to be with us. Ernie has a son that is on the autism spectrum disorder. And so he started a school in Jupiter, Florida. It's called the Els Center for Excellence. And it is strictly for people with autism. Okay. Whereas the Meyer Center serves all people with disabilities. It is strictly for autism spectrum disorder. But we are so similar in the missions that we serve because they do the education, they do all of the therapies, and they're coming to Greenville to be at our event. Yes. And so we're super excited about that because, the one thing about disabilities is, it doesn't discriminate against anyone. Yes. It's no socioeconomic, no race, nothing. And so I think that's important for people to realize is just, you could find yourself, dealing with, a person with disabilities in your family. And, Ernie Els is perfect example of that. He's got all the money in the world, but, he has a son on the autism spectrum disorder, and he wanted to do everything that he could do for his son and people like him. And so I think it'll be really cool.
Oh, that'll be so fun.
That's amazing.
2 things. My son is marrying an LPGA player.
Oh, fun.
She is. So I'm wondering if something she could, participate in some point.
Yeah,
in the
sure.
future.
That'd be great.
But she was the SEC champion with USC, University of South Carolina.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that's kind of neat. So I got excited about that. And she loves kids.
You'll have
She's
to tell her. Yeah.
Fun. Yeah. And then 2, you were telling us a story that was funny about one of your kids, the groundhog. Yeah. Tell us that real quick.
When people think the Meyer Center and all children with disabilities, people often think it's sad. And that is just the opposite of what it is.
It's such a happy place.
So it really is. And so as I was leaving to drive over here, one of the classrooms was coming through the building, and they had watched the groundhog see his shadow. And they had these silly headbands, groundhogs with the big teeth on their heads hanging down, and they come by each room. And so you hear them coming down the hallway, and they come by each room, and they're like, 6 more weeks of winter.
You can't even be mad about it.
And I'm like, yay, 6 more weeks of winter. I just want a pedicure. And so they're just so much fun. And some of them know your names, and they talk to you with, say, Miss Shannon, I want to come help you work. And so there they are at my computer, and who knows what's happening. And it's a place of joy and hope and discovery and inclusion. And I could use every positive adjective that's out there to describe the Meyer Center. There's just not enough.
It's also probably there's such a camaraderie with the parents. You were saying before we started just how you felt so alone that first year.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And one of the things, so besides the fact that you get to know other parents that are in your shoes, it's also a place of respite for parents because we get to leave our children where we know they're being taken care of. Yes. We know that all their needs are being taken care of to the best of their ability. And that is such a relief.
Peace of mind.
Peace of mind. But not only that, I can go have a life outside of taking care of my child. I'm not, before you start your child in a school program like the Meyer Center, you're your child's therapist, nurse, caretaker, you're their chef, you do everything for your kid, teacher, everything. It's parenting is already, a full-time job, but that's an extra, that is extra layers to it that, it's just unimaginable. And you do need a break. And it's doing that. And it's doing that through the pain of what is my life going to look like 10 years from now? Am I going to outlive my child? Or am I going to not outlive my child, and who's going to take care of my child when I'm gone? Mm-hmm. So there's all this pressure and all this fear surrounding anger, everything, every emotion you can think of. And so this is a place where we can send our child from 8 to 2 o'clock, where we are positive that they're going to be taken care of. And so at least I've been able to return to work. I've been able to start accepting clients and coaching them, and it's exciting. It's a really exciting chapter of my life. And there isn't a lot of help out there, I'll be honest, outside of the Meyer Center. For most parents that send their children to the Meyer Center, this is their sole place of support. They don't have anyone else that is able to step in and take care of their kids. And a lot of times, you say, well, family and well, I have family that's close by, but they don't feel comfortable.
Yeah, it's overwhelming.
They're very capable, but they're like that's a lot. I don't know how to take care of your son.
What if
he has seizures? He has, it's a lot. It's a lot for anyone. And I'm so grateful because he's in a classroom where they have an LPN that's dedicated to just his classroom. Mm-hmm. So she's watching him. If he has a seizure, they'll take care of it. Mm-hmm. And they'll let me know, and then we can step in and do the right things. And so there's so much peace of mind, like you said. So that's a good question. Because he has what's called Lennox-Gastaut syndrome. And this is a form of epilepsy, or I should say, like within the epilepsy world, it's like 1% of the people that have epilepsy have Lennox-Gastaut syndrome. So he has
I have epilepsy. That's what I was.
You have epilepsy?
I have epilepsy. Yeah.
Mercy.
Yeah, but it's controlled. But I'm super curious because I just know personally what it does to you.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Well, he has three to four different seizure types.
Yeah. Okay.
And so in the background of his EEG, it's like he's in status epilepticus all the time.
Oh my gosh.
Yes. So it's I'm not a neurologist, so they can explain it a lot better than I can. But he probably has very tiny, visible, symptomatic seizures,
but it's
daily.
Going on.
Right. Mm-hmm. Right.
Wow.
So he's on 5 different kinds of seizure meds.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that's so much.
Yeah. That's so full-time.
It is.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But also, like our teachers and teaching assistants will babysit for them.
Yeah.
So that they
I haven't got one yet, but
in search of
calling out sitters.
Right. But like there are a lot of families who during the summers, if a teaching assistant happens to not work during the summers, because we do have summer camps that our students can attend, because the loss of learning would just be too much if we didn't have an opportunity for them to come. But also for parents that work. Yeah. It's important. But they'll help during the summer and, be a respite caregiver, or just if mom and dad want to go out on a date and go to dinner, just to have a conversation.
Yes.
And so they provide that as well, which I think is excellent.
It is.
Yeah.
That is amazing.
Wow. Yeah.
So it looks like there is a wait list.
There is. So we typically always run a wait list.
Okay.
We choose our students based off of a lottery system.
Okay.
And so our open enrollment runs through February 28th this year. Once we get, everyone on the list, we'll do a lottery for the spaces that we have open. So right now they're working on who's leaving because they're ready, who's graduating because they're that age, who may not be coming back because of a family move or family change. That doesn't happen very often. Once families get in, they stay.
Right.
So they're working on that right now to see how many spots we'll have for the 2022-23 year. And then they'll start making phone calls and doing intakes. And my office is right across from our social worker's office. And so I get to hear her throughout the year tell people, well, we'll put you on the waiting list. And you can hear it through the phone. It's just deflated. It's like a sound of deflation. But then when she's calling people, telling them that they're accepted, it's a completely different situation.
Sure.
You can almost hear them through the phone across the hall.
And I'm sure, too, we have so many people moving to Greenville anyway. Mm-hmm. I'm sure the need is just going to continue to grow.
Yes.
So do you have any plans to expand?
So actually, we do. So
you're hearing it first.
Well, so this year we are adding an 11th class. Right now we have 10 classes. And we are going to be adding an 11th class this year, which will be roughly 10 more students depending on so that's the other hard part. The students have to fit the spaces that are open. So age and ability-wise.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I swear it's like a jigsaw puzzle just putting those pieces together. But we added a 10th class in 2020 during COVID, which was crazy. Like, what are we doing? But it actually worked out well. We actually came back from the government, from the governor's mandate, when he mandated in March that schools close. When we came back in August, we opened face-to-face full-time.
Okay.
So we realized in 3 quick months that was not what was the best interest for our students. Yeah. And so we gave parents an option. You can come full-time, you can come just for your therapies, because that's really important to be face-to-face and hands-on.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's a lot of hand-over-hand instruction. And so, during that year, we also added a 10th class. We saw a lot of quarantines. We're still seeing a lot of quarantines, which is hard on parents and hard on families. And I think this most recent variant has been the most challenging for our parents because it's just been so contagious. And hopefully, fingers crossed, we won't be dealing with that in 2022-23 school year. We know we'll deal with something, but hopefully not what we've been dealing with. So yes, we're going to add an 11th class. We also own our entire building.
Okay.
We occupy about a third of it. And so there's talks about what can we do in the rest of this building. And so our board of directors and our executive director are strategic, creative thinkers, and they've got some really good ideas from, some outpatient therapies that we can do, some after school. We don't have an after school program right now.
That's great.
And so
she's like,
it's really, I really think that the 2022-23 year, we will have some sort of after school option. We're doing some parent surveys right now to find out who would be interested. Because with everything for us, it's how do we pay for it and how do we sustain it?
Yes.
And so we think we've got the 11th class paid for and sustained for a few years, because you don't want to start something and have to go backwards. But the community is so generous.
I was about to say, let's talk about what can Greenville do for you.
Yes.
Well, come on, Greenville.
It's hard to ask for more because we've had 2 very good years of support. I didn't get a chance to tell you about our other big fundraiser, but we have a holiday luncheon, which is always the Wednesday after Thanksgiving.
Okay.
And so that is at the convention center. It's usually 900 to 1,000 people. This past year we had 940 people there.
Wow.
It used to be a ladies' luncheon, but we came up with the times and decided to include the other 50% of the population. And I will say this year, it was the first year as the holiday luncheon, and we had a good sprinkling of men. So we're hoping that that'll continue to grow.
Is that something we could do?
We would love to help.
Absolutely. Do that. So there's information on both events on our website, and they're both fabulous events. I mean, the holiday luncheon is just one of the best ways, I think, to kick off your holiday season. It brings you joy. It makes you realize blessings in your life. It just really is.
Bring your tissues.
Bring
your tissues.
Bring your tissues. Yeah, I'll make sure you are. I'll make sure you are. But in addition to that, like I said, we're so blessed with the community support. We have ways to get involved through donations, obviously. You can also support us by volunteering.
Okay.
Yes.
We are we had reintroduced volunteers in December, and then we had to shut that down again. So we keep trying to dip the toe in the pool to see how it's going to work. But hopefully mid to end of February, we're going to start bringing some of our volunteers who have already been volunteering back in. And we're always looking for volunteers to serve in the classrooms. It's just an extra set of hands.
Yep.
We have a library that people can come and read to the students in when they have related arts times. The recess and playground time is an excellent time to come and volunteer. But we also do group volunteers where people will come in and do a special project. So like for Valentine's Day, we have a sorority at Clemson that's going to come and bring Valentines and bags and things to the kids and drop them off. So there are many opportunities to volunteer.
Do they just call you?
Yeah. Okay. So there's information on the website.
Okay.
And then, obviously we have to pass a background check because
you're with children.
You're with children.
And it's okay that you're not super familiar.
Yes,
it's okay.
Absolutely.
You would help
100%.
Okay. Oh, I think that's the best part of it.
It is.
I think the best part of it is not being in touch with children that are different and then learning how they tick.
Yeah.
Because then you take that into your community. It's a new belief that you are it's growing inside of you, and then you can pass that on to your kids. And so when these children are out in the community, then it's not such a shock. It's the dream for me is that all the children of Greenville that are different in some way can feel like the expanded community is their home. And so the more volunteers that we have, then the more this kind of inclusion, acceptance, and familiarity with children with disabilities can just become a part of your daily life. It's not so shocking when you see a child in a wheelchair at the playground. It's like, oh yeah.
Have you ever had my son
coming in and helping him?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, that's what I was about to say. Like my son, he's like learning to read. If he ever during a lunch or something, if I ever brought him over, is that something?
Absolutely.
You do?
Yes.
Okay.
So, especially summers are good to bring kids over, both, little kids and youth. We have water play days on our playgrounds.
Oh, that's awesome.
And we have these water features that squirt water out, and the whole playground's just covered, in water guns and water tubes and there's everything. And so that's a really good opportunity to come and, swing them on a swing beside them in a swing, right beside them on a tricycle. But so there are tons of opportunities for volunteering, and, we're open to things too. So if you have an idea, tell us, we may just not have thought of it yet.
Right.
We have a sensory garden. If anybody likes to garden and they want to come and, help keep up with the plants during the summer and the produce and things like that, whatever gets planted. But then there's also, we have a wish list. It's on Amazon. It's easy to find. And so if you just say, my family wants to do something for the Meyer Center this month, you can go onto Amazon, pick out a few items, and they ship directly to us.
Okay.
So it's so easy.
Christmas time too.
We try to make it as easy as possible. And then also we have a professionals group called the Impact Group.
Yes.
And they do a ton of fun things. There's a yearly dues. I think it's $100, and they get together and have socials. It's just like-minded people getting together that believe in our mission and that want to forward our mission. Okay. So that's an option as well, and that's on the website as well. And then lastly, spread the word. Yes. Follow us on social media. Our social media accounts are very active. They're fun. They have adorable pictures and videos on them. Aww. So just share, just share the word and like and send it on to other people that, may not need us now, but may need us in the future.
Right. Yes.
So I do, one of my favorite things of what I get to do is donor calls. And so I call donors and thank them. And yesterday I called a man and never spoken to him before. And he said, I could tell he was, older in age and on the phone. And he said, Dr. Meyer was my doctor. Oh. And I said, are you kidding me?
Wow.
He said, no. In my 20s, I was in an accident. And he was my doctor, and he worked with me to, get me back to where he said he put me back together. Mm-hmm. And then he went on to say that he had run into Dr. Meyer a few times in the community. And the last time he ran into him, he suspected Dr. Meyer was probably in his 90s.
Wow.
He remembered exactly who he was. He said, hand me your hand. He handed him his left hand. He said, hand me your left hand. He knew exactly what hand it was. And he said, squeeze my hand. And he said, I squeezed it as hard as I could. And Dr. Meyer said, I didn't do too good, did I? and this particular gentleman said, Dr. Meyer, without you, I probably wouldn't have an arm. So I'm just thankful that I do. And so those are stories. I mean, Dr. Meyer's legacy lives on, and it will continue to live on. And the support of the community is part of that. So we hope people that haven't heard of us will get behind us.
And you can join the PTA. Anybody can be a member of the Meyer Center PTA.
Well, I hope that people are listening. Yeah, I hope people are listening, and I just truly appreciate you.
Yeah, we appreciate the opportunity.
We do too.
Thank you.
Yes,
wonderful. I didn't know any of this.
Yes,
so this is
You're
wonderful.
welcome to come for a tour.
Yes,
I'll take you on a tour, and you can. It's better. You can hear about it all day, and you can talk about it all day, but to see it in action is just priceless.
Maybe we go together soon.
We're going.
Yeah.
It's been an honor to have you.
Yeah, it really has. Thank you so much.
We'll go together, and I want to experience this.
It's an honor to be here. Thank you so much for having us.
We appreciate it.
Thank you, ladies, again. And for more information on the Meyer Center, what is the website?
It's meyercenter.org.
Okay, perfect. So everyone volunteer, or donate just in some way, try to, help this amazing school. And we want to thank our sponsors real quick, because without them, we literally could not do this. We want to thank Nest Realty, Southern Girl Chic for dressing us, Blackacre Law, Parham Smith Archenhold. We want to thank Leisa with Fairway Mortgage.
Body Works.
Yep, Body Works. And Browning Studio. So thank you so much for your support, and we look forward to seeing you next time.